Do you believe angels have adorable appearances with harps and wings? Creatures like that don't exist on a single page of the Bible. What the scriptures describe are creatures so terrifying they made kings fall unconscious. We, from the Unveiled Bible channel, decided to investigate the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek texts of the scriptures, tracing every word back to its primary source through our biblical platform. No invented traditions, no speculation, only what is written. Today, we are going to unveil the true appearance of each class of angel described in the scriptures, from the most familiar to the most incomprehensible. And by the end, you will understand why the first thing an angel almost always says is, "Do not be afraid." Before we dive into the classes, we need to establish one thing. The Bible records dozens of angelic appearances, and the human reaction is always the same: not quiet awe, total collapse. The prophet Daniel completely loses his strength and faints. John the Apostle, the very one who lived alongside Jesus, falls as though dead at the sight of an angel. Ezekiel falls face down on the ground. Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, is paralyzed with fear just from seeing Gabriel in the temple. This isn't dramatic poetry. It's the consistent pattern of testimonies from different people across different centuries in different cultures, describing the exact same type of experience. They saw something that was completely beyond normal human perception. And now we are going to see exactly what they saw. The first class is the messengers. In Hebrew, malach, in Greek, angelos. And there is a detail about these beings that most people have never really stopped to think about. They can look human, completely human. Using the Unveiled Bible portal, in Genesis chapter 19 verse 1, we have one of the very first appearances of angels. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. In Genesis 19, 2 travelers arrive in Sodom. They walk, talk, and look exactly like any human. The local mob even tries to attack them, having no idea they are threatening beings with enough power to turn the entire city into ashes. Beings of absolute power, invisible by choice. This human appearance, ordinary and wingless, is just a protective suit, a tactical camouflage so our minds can withstand interacting with them without going into total collapse. But what happens when this filter is removed? In Daniel chapter 10, we see this camouflage drop. The prophet comes face to face with a being in its glorified form. The description: a face flashing like continuous lightning and eyes like flaming torches. Its arms and legs gleamed like polished bronze, and its voice was not human. It was the roar of an entire multitude coming from a single mouth. The impact of this? Devastating. The men accompanying Daniel fled in terror just from feeling the creature's presence. The prophet himself, one of the most resilient men in the Bible, couldn't endure it. His strength vanished, and he fainted, falling face first to the ground in a state of shock. And here is the most terrifying detail. The messengers are just the field agents, the base of the celestial hierarchy. If the most accessible class to humans makes prophets faint in terror, let's go higher. Moving up the hierarchy, we reach the seraphim. And the word says it all. The Hebrew root saraph literally means the burning one or fiery. These are not beings that delicately radiate light. They are beings of fire. The only direct description of the seraphim is in Isaiah chapter 6, and it begins with the prophet himself having a vision of the throne of God. Isaiah 6, verses 1 to 4. I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. Pay attention to the bizarre anatomy described in the text. They have 6 wings, and the way they use them says everything about the intensity of that environment. With 2 wings, they cover their own faces. Why? Because even the seraphim, dimensional beings created to live in the presence of God, cannot withstand staring into the radiation of divine glory with open, unprotected eyes. 2 wings cover their feet in a gesture of absolute reverence and submission, and only the last 2 are used for flying. And when they speak, forget soft choirs and harps. The text records that the thresholds of the doors shook. The frequency and volume of a seraph's voice cause seismic tremors that crack massive physical foundations. To purify the panicked prophet, one of them takes a glowing coal straight from the altar and touches Isaiah's lips, the being of fire manipulating extreme fire. They are the top of the chain, the personification of absolute power in the service of holiness. You've probably imagined angels as chubby, adorable babies playing harps in Renaissance paintings. Those little angels are one of the greatest distortions in Western art history and have absolutely nothing to do with the biblical text. The real cherubim are not cute. They are the cosmic guardians of God, the exact same class of angels placed with flaming swords to block access to the tree of life in Eden. When the prophet Ezekiel tries to describe them, he has so much difficulty processing that interdimensional biology that he repeats the phrase, "had the likeness of," dozens of times. It is the mind of a man struggling to find words for the impossible. Ezekiel reports that they have a vaguely human silhouette, but the resemblance ends right there. Their legs are completely straight, with no human knee joints, ending in hooves that gleam intensely like fire-polished bronze. But what truly paralyzes you is the face, or rather the faces. Each creature has 4 distinct faces, looking in 4 different directions simultaneously. The front face is that of a man, the right, a lion, the left, an ox, and the back, an eagle. And this is not random symbolism. In the context of the ancient Middle East, these 4 faces represent the absolute pinnacle of creation, the crown of intelligence, man, the king of beasts, lion, the king of brute strength, ox, and the king of the skies, eagle. It is all the dominion and majesty of the earth condensed into a single entity. Because they have 4 faces and 4 wings, their locomotion defies our physics. They never need to turn around to change direction. They simply advance instantly in any direction, gliding through the air in a bizarre manner, while lightning flashes and flames like living coals shoot continuously from their very bodies. And to prove this was no hallucination from Ezekiel, centuries later, in the book of Revelation, the Apostle John is taken in a vision to the throne of God and describes the exact same sentinels with the exact same faces guarding the center of power in the universe. And now we reach the most baffling, bizarre description, impossible to fit into any human category, the Ophanim. In literal Hebrew, the wheels. If you open Ezekiel chapter 1, starting from verse 15, you will find the exact location of this anomaly. While the prophet observes the 4 living creatures, he notices something unusual accompanying them on the ground. He doesn't see faces or wings, but a mind-bending geometric structure. The text describes a gigantic gear shining with the color of beryl, a sparkling, translucent precious stone. And the mechanical detail is fascinating. Ezekiel reports a wheel within a wheel. Imagine a gyroscope, two wheels fused in perpendicular planes, crossed at a 90-degree angle. This design allowed them to move instantly on any three-dimensional axis without needing to turn. It was a man from the ancient world trying to put interdimensional physics into words. But here is where the description goes from geometry to absolute terror. Ezekiel narrates that the rims, the physical outer edges of these wheels, were colossally high and caused dread. Why? Because these gigantic rims were entirely covered with eyes. Hundreds, maybe thousands of real eyes, blinking and observing in all directions at the same time. It was not artistic symbolism. And the most terrifying part, these wheels were not a vehicle, a chariot, or a cosmic machine. They were living entities. The passage clearly states that the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. They are perfectly conscious extensions, moving in organic and instantaneous synchrony with the creatures beside them. It is a life system that our biology simply has no capacity to comprehend. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish document validated and cited in the New Testament by the Epistle of Jude, expands on this mystery. It describes the Ophanim as sentinels of fire who never sleep. They do not rest because their function is uninterrupted vigilance. The eyes covering the gears are not a macabre decoration. They are the function. They are the ultimate security system of the universe, the eyewitnesses of God who never, ever close their eyes. After visualizing all of this, it becomes much easier to understand why the phrase, "Do not be afraid," is almost always the first thing an angel says when appearing in the Bible. Think about the scale of what we have just assembled. A messenger with a face shining like lightning, a seraph of pure fire, a cherub with 4 faces and bronze hooves, or the Ophanim, those immense, living, watchful gears. It is natural that our human mind, being so limited, becomes frightened at the first impact of something so grandiose and far beyond our reality. But this is exactly where the perspective shifts. The "do not be afraid" is not a warning of danger, but an embrace of grace. It is the celestial way of saying, yes, our nature is overwhelming and our power is immense, but we have not come to hurt you. This command is an act of profound empathy, a direct care from God to calm our hearts in the face of the unknown. In fact, if we look closely, these characteristics that seem frightening at first are our greatest sources of comfort and hope. Think of the thousands of eyes of the Ophanim which never close. They are not a threat. They are the guarantee that God never sleeps, that He sees everything, and that no injustice goes unnoticed. Think of the incalculable strength of the cherubim and the purifying fire of the seraphim. This shows us that the guardians of the universe and executors of the divine will are strong enough to deal with any evil and impossible to defeat. The spiritual reality described in the Bible is, indeed, incredibly vast, complex, and majestic. But knowing that beings so powerful and tireless are in the service of God, and that they act invisibly to protect and guide our history, should not cause us dread. On the contrary, it should bring us the most profound and unshakable sense of security. They are immense, yes, but their power exists to guard us. Every single one of these fascinating details has been in the Bible all along. They weren't hidden, nor were they encoded in secret texts. They were written with crystal clarity, just waiting to be read without the filter of centuries of religious art that tried to tame the untamable. If you still imagined angels as fragile and harmless figures, now you know the truth. You have started reading the same book that Daniel, Ezekiel, and Isaiah read. You are seeing spiritual reality as it truly is, filled with cosmic warriors and guardians, immense in power, whose purpose is to execute the unshakable will of God and protect our history. And speaking of the power of these creatures and the great secrets kept in the scriptures, did you know that an archangel was directly involved in the greatest unsolved mystery of the Old Testament? In the book of Jude, the text reveals that the archangel Michael fought an intense spiritual battle against the devil himself over a human body, the body of Moses. In this video appearing on your screen, I invite you to understand why Moses' tomb was never found and why spiritual forces desired his body even after his death. Continue with us on this journey. If this video changed the way you see the spiritual world, subscribe now to the Unveiled Bible and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. Share this content with someone who still believes in the harp version. Keep your eyes always open, and see you in the next video.